jungle.
Firstly, there is three sources of long-term financing, which is debt or bond, preferred stock, and common equity, also known as common stock plus return earning. Next, the payment is in the fixed amount, so it is compulsory for the issuer to pay the periodic payment, and bondholder does not have the voting right. It is in hierarchy of claim on income, it is on the first. In hierarchy of claim on assets in the event of bankruptcy is on the first also. For the next source in long-term financing is common stock. Common stock represents the ownership position in the firm. The par value is RM1 Malaysia unless it is stated differently. So it has no maturity period. It is an equity. It also non-tax deductible, and the periodic payment is called dividend. For common stock, the payment is not a fixed amount. Next, in common stock, it is not compulsory for the issuer to pay for the periodic payment. The common shareholder has the right to vote. And in hierarchy of claim on income, the common stock is placed on third. And in hierarchy of claim on assets in the event of bankruptcy, common stock is placed on third. For the third sources of long-term financing is preferred stock. Preferred stock is a hybrid security with fixed dividend but without maturity period. The par value is RM100 Malaysia unless it is stated differently. It has no maturity period. It is an equity. It is also a tax deductible. The periodic payment is called dividend. Next, the payment is in a fixed amount. So it is compulsory for the issuer to pay periodic payment, but it can be accumulated in the future due to the having financial difficulty to pay dividend in the current year. So none of the preferred shareholder has voting right, only during financial distress. In hierarchy of claim on income, preferred stock placed on second, and in hierarchy of claim on assets in the event of bankruptcy, preferred stock placed on second. Next, weighted average cost of capital, WACC. It is a method used to find the overall cost of financing through the combination of at least two sources of financing, and proportionate weight is assigned to each sources of financing. For weight marginal cost of capital, WMCC, it is a method used to find the cost of capital when an additional amount of capital is raised. So lender may increase the cost of debt when the debt amount exceeds a certain limit.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Ismail Iskandar bin Onis Medi. So today we learn about calculation of cost of each sources of financing. So that looks about bond. Bond have a two type, which is cost of issuing bond before tax, KB, cost of issuing bond after tax, KBAT. Before we look about formula bond, let's look about the type of formula. CR is coupon rate, par is par value of RM1000, SP is selling price or market value, FC is floating cost, and for number of year the bond is outstanding, tax is corporate tax, marginal tax, or other than tax. This is formula for KB and KBAT. Next is cost of issuing preferred stock, KAP. Before we look the formula, let's look about the type of formula. DR stand for divided rate, par is par value of RM1000, SP is selling price or market value. FC is floating cost, normally as a present of SP unless started differently. This is the formula for KP. We have astronaut for bond, which is selling at premium. MP more than par, selling at par, MP equal par, selling at discount, MP less than par. Beside that, we have common stock KC. So D1 is expected dividend, DO is last year dividend or current dividend, SP is selling price or market value, FC is floating cost, G is growth rate. This is the formula for the KC and D1. After that, we have return earning KRE. PT is personal tax rate, BF is brokerage fee.
Assalamualaikum to Dr. Hafiz. So today I'll be explaining the definition of WACC and the method on how to calculate weighted average cost of capital. So firstly, the definition of WACC, or call it as weighted average cost of capital, is a method used to find the overall cost of financing through the combination of at least two sources of financing and proportionate weight is assigned to each sources of financing. So next, I will explain further about the step to calculate the weighted average cost of capital. So there are 5 steps to calculate WACC. Firstly, you need to calculate the market value of equity or market capitalization. Next, referring to the slide, find the market value of debt. Let's say we have a company for which know the total debt. So the total debt represent capital letter of T, RM 100 million. In order to find the market value of debt, we need to check if this debt is listed. If yes, then we can directly pick the latest traded price. If the trading value was RM 84.83 million for a face value of RM 100 million, then the market value of debt will be RM 84.83 million. The third step is calculate cost of equity. First, risk-free rate, which is equal to 4%, risk premium 6%, beta of the stock is 1.5, cost of equity RF plus RM minus RF times beta, cost of equity is 4% times 6% times 1.5 equal 13%. The details of the calculation are on the slide. Continue on the step 4, which is you need to calculate the cost of debt. So let's say we have been given the following information. Risk-free rate is 4%, credit spread is 2%, and tax rate is 35%. So now, let's calculate the cost of debt. So cost of debt is risk-free rate plus credit spread times 1 minus tax rate, or KD equals 0.04 plus 0.02 times 1 minus 0.35 equals 0.039 or 3.9%. Lastly, we need to do the WACC calculation. Well, here are the WACC formula. WACC formula is equal to E stroke V times KE plus D stroke V times KD times 1 minus tax.
Okay, now we go on to the step to calculate the WMCC. Okay, so we look at this slide. Okay, this slide show the step number 1. Okay, the first step is calculate the cost of each source of the financing. Example is KBAT, KP, KC, and KRA. Okay, the step number 2, we must rearrange each cost of the source of the financing according to the financing limit. Alright, so according to this, we can look at this table. So first is bond. Okay, the limit or cut point of use KBAT. If the above the limit, we are using the preferred stock. Okay, preferred stock is use a KP. Okay, and above the limit. Okay, the common equity 0 until the limit we use to KC, and above the limit. We determine the book value weight of each source of financing. Okay, if the weight are not given, with equal by book value. Okay, the total value of the all source. Okay, step number 4, find the breaking point. Okay, the BP of the each source equal by the cut-off point each source.
Alright, thank you Hani for explaining the first step until fourth. Now I will explain to you guys about the fifth step until ninth step. So the fifth step is the range of the financing is based on the breaking points. After you calculate the fourth step, which is you find out the breaking points, you need to comparize it by their range. So for example, the first range is RM0 to RM200,000, second is RM200,000 to 800,000, and so on until the last breaking point is which is RM1 million. Alright, moving on to the last slide, which is I will explain to you guys about the sixth step until the last step. For the next step is the sixth step, where you need to find the WMMC, which is the Wacc marginal cost of capital for each range of financing. And you need to make a table for each range and calculate it by their bond, preferred stock, and common equity. After that, for the seventh step, you need to arrange the project according to descending IRR and calculate the accumulated cost. For the eighth step, which is you need to plot a graph, and the last step you need to choose the project which is IRR is greater than WMMC.